Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Surprise Thursday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Hush Superman. Let's get into it! Let's start things off with a look at the packaging. And here we have on the top 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys with a squishy spawn face, a hook, bit of a window here on the top to let light in so it shines down on the figure. On the front, 12 and up, nice big window showcasing the figure and accessories. DC Multiverse Superman 85th Anniversary Multiverse Superman. On the bottom, small print, fine print, legalese print, DC print, WB print, symbols I'm not going to learn, a barcode, and a weirdo number. Also made in China print. See? Right there. If I didn't say that already, I may have. Superman 85, Superman Hush, whatever that sticker is. McFarlane Toys and the squishy spawn face. On this side, DC Multiverse Superman, window on the side here. DC Universe Infinite, and if you want to check that out, you can scan that. And it's an app or online, and it has a bunch of comics in it. It's on the App Store and on Google Play. On the back, Superman Hush, and some nice Jim Lee line art there. I'm not sure where in the book that might be from, but there it is. And hashtag McFarlane Toys on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, McFarlane Toys, squishy spawn face, DC Universe Infinite, ad again here on the bottom. Scan! Or don't. And that, my friends, is a look at the packaging. Let's take a look at the figure and accessories, and here's handy dandy tweezers if we need them. And we probably will for the hands. First up, let's take a look at the card. And here it is, that same black and white line art by Jim Lee. At least it looks like it's by Jim Lee. From the back of the packaging, Superman Hush. And then Superman Hush data file, and if you want to check that out, you can pause it right here and read all that. And we got DC print, WB print, DC Universe there. Then the next thing we have is me bumping stuff, because what is a Digital Caveman review, or Digital Caveman Presents review, without some camera movement? And then next up we have that nice DC Multiverse McFarlane flight stand. I don't know that he's used this in any other of his lines, but he may have. But this one, it comes with the base, of course, and it does have DC on there. And it's a nice clear stand. It does have a peg if you want to stand them on here rather than putting them in flight mode. And then here is the flight stand itself, and it has movement here. And then, of course, this clips onto the figures. And as far as putting it together, you just slide the back piece into the base piece. And there's a little click, and you can get them out of there if you want to, but you probably won't. So there's that. Then something that we're starting to see a little more of with McFarlane Toys, some extra hands, and in this case they're flight hands for Superman. Nicely molded in color, of course. So very nice looking. There's 2 of those. So it's nice to get some flight hands with Superman, so that he can do flighty stuff. Now let's take a look at the figure himself. And this is the only part of this figure that is just throwing me off a little bit, is the head sculpt for this. And I know it's supposed to be like the Jim Lee artwork, and to a certain extent it is, but then it's not, and it kind of looks odd. So I may have to find a different Superman head to put on this one. But I will say it is nicely sculpted, and you can see his eyes in there, and eyebrows, a little bit of paint here for the lips, and then like a little bit of overlay here on the cheeks and sides of the chin, maybe right in here. So there's that. And I will say this part of the face, the middle of the face, it looks a little pale when compared to the rest of the flesh colors that you see. So now overall, I have to say this Superman has nice, bright, classic Superman colors. The yellow and the red for the S, the yellow and the red for the trunks and the belt, the cape, and with the Superman S on it, and they painted in his belt loops as well, so that's cool. And then you can tell this is a more modern take on the classic costume, because you have these seam lines throughout, not on the lower torso though, because I think this is the same. I think they reused this piece on the Nightfall Batman. Now I could be wrong, because I wasn't able to get my hands on that Batman, which I really would like to do, because it's very, you know, and again it has that classic look, and I can see McFarlane starting to skew towards those classic looks a little bit more. So we've got the Nightfall Batman and the Doomsday and Superman 2-pack, and there's another Superman 2-pack coming out soon that's a little more classic than this. But again, overall, you know, it's very nice. The colors on it are just, it really pops like Superman should. It stands out because it's bright, and again, like I said, that's what it should do. Now the cape, of course, it's plastic, or it's a soft plastic. I wouldn't even say it's rubber, but it's soft plastic, and it's glued on there. And of course, you know, I really would have preferred a cloth cape, but this one does have a nice flowing look to it, so that if he's, you know, floating just slightly off the floor or whatever, and the wind's, so it looks good for that type of posing. But again, a wired cloth cape, that really should be standard for figures today, in my opinion. Your mileage, of course, may vary. Well, let's take a look at his articulation. He can look up that far. He can look down that far. He's got some chicken neck. He's got some waggle, waggle, waggle. He can do the full extras. And of course, I do believe there is a dumbbell joint in here with a ball in the neck and a ball at the head. So there is that. And then we have this McFarlane butterfly type joint. It moves at the shoulder, that is. Moves back that far, forward that far. And it also moves up a little bit and down a little bit. So you get all kinds of all around motion for that. So he can like loosen his shoulders up if he wants to. And last thing, at the shoulder, he can raise his arm up, and it does look like it angles up more than 90 degrees and 360 degrees worth of rotation. At the upper bicep, there's also a 360 degree cut, or a cut for 360 degrees of rotation. Double hinged, pinned elbow. I don't know. I'm getting so used to saying pinless these days, it throws me off when I still see pinned elbows. And it's a little stiff, but it will give you that much bend. And then at the wrist, 360 degree rotation, and it's on that ball joint type system, so it can be in and out or up and down, however you wish to. You can manipulate it to do what you want it to do. So cut here where the chest and the abdomen meet. Gives you some hula going on there. Gives you 360 degrees of rotation. Can lean left and right. Can lean back that far just on that joint, and forward that far just on that joint. And then the waist is on a ball joint as well, and it gives you some hula. And actually, these just work in conjunction. I don't know why I didn't start it off that way. So all kinds of hula. Can bend left and right. Leans back that far. Leans forward that far. And again, at the waist, it also has 360 degrees of rotation. Now, as far as the trunks go, they're like all McFarlane crotches. I know that sounds weird to say it like that, but you know, it's just that like soft plastic overlay here. And of course, the S symbol, the Superman symbol, is just kind of glued on there. I don't know if it's like it has a depression in the chest where this fits in and then glues, or if it's just glued to the outside. I'm not sure, but it is a separate piece. It's not removable. It is glued in. At the hips, he can give you that much of the splits. He kicks forward that far and back maybe a quarter of a step. And then of course, no thigh swivel. It does have it will swivel a little bit, but it's not much at this thigh joint. Double hinged pinned knee, and it gives you that much bend, so it's not bad. It ain't great, but it ain't bad. And then nothing in the shin, and then again ball joints at the ankles. Tilts down that far, tilts up that far, and then they will rotate 360 degrees. No real rocker built in, but just like the wrists, these ball joints, you can turn them to the side to get some rocker if you wish, and it'll give you like rocker like that. So that's not bad. It's just sometimes a pain in the butt to get it back the way you want it, or the way it's supposed to be, rather, not the way you want it, but the way you want it to. And then the last piece of articulation is he has toe tilt, and it tilts up that far and it just sits flat. And again, with the stand, it has the foot peg on it, and you can peg him. Yeah, I know that sounds weird too. But anyway, you can place him standing on the stand if that's the way you want to do it, or just put this piece under the cape a little bit and clamp this around the waist. Although it doesn't clamp super well. But there it is, and then you can adjust him to be whatever flight pose that you want while he's being displayed on the shelf. And that, my friends, does it for a look at Hush Superman. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here we have the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Hush Superman with the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Dark Knight Returns Superman and the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Hush Batman from the Batman and Hush 2-pack. For our final set of comparisons, here we have the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Hush Superman, with making his cameo appearance from the Marvel Legends series, Stan the Man Lee. From the G.I. Joe Classified series, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant Cobra Commander. From Star Wars The Black Series, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper. And for a 7-inch scale comparison from the Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final thoughts on the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Hush Superman, I have to say I have been looking for a classic styled comic Superman, other than the Dark Knight Returns version, but a more regular version, for a while. And this one just really struck a chord with me. I happened to spot it at a GameStop, and it just struck a chord with me. The colors, they're, the bright red, blue, and yellow that I think of when I think of Superman. And, the nice big S emblazoned there on the back of the cape. And, it's mostly a classic Superman. There's a little bit of modern elements to it, like some of the seam lines in his costume and the little divot there in the middle of the neckline. But that's okay. It doesn't skew too far from what I think of when I think of Superman. And they actually did a good job on this. I do think the head sculpt, while not what I would prefer, I still may try to figure out a head swap for this figure. But hey, there was no side-eye on this head sculpt paint. He's looking straight ahead. So, kudos for that. And it does somewhat resemble the Jim Lee artwork, but like with his McFarlane's movie figures, the faces look a little squatty. There's like squished down or something, and it really takes away from the likeness in those figures. Now this one, with it being a comic book and based on an artist's style, I don't think it affects it as much. But I do think that's still there. But again, the proportion thing with the McFarlane, that it's still a thing. It still exists. It's still there. And you either like it or you don't like it. And I'm okay with it. It's not... the proportions of the body doesn't really throw me out like I'm looking at a Rob Liefeld drawing. So I will say overall, I do believe this is a good figure. Again, there are a few elements that are the more modern elements, like the seam lines in the costume, and it's not super noticeable. But this is really a great classic Superman with the bright colors and the truth, justice, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it in the American way. And the only thing, again, that could have improved, and again, something else that you don't get a whole lot with McFarlane figures, is he came with an extra set of hands, and they were flight hands, and I like that he's starting to give us a few more accessory types with, I guess, what you would call a basic figure. And of course he comes with a flight stand because he's Superman and he flies. Although I don't think all flying characters are getting those, but I ramble on too much about that. The only thing that really this figure needs improvement wise would have been a cloth, soft goods, wired cape. And I really wish toy companies would get away from using these sculpted plastic capes and Mattel is doing that with their Masterverse line, but you know, it's not wired yet. So I'm hoping eventually all capes will be wired, soft goods out of the box. No additional costs. It's standard, and it needs to be, because you know, this cape is blowing in the wind, and it's pretty much for one pose. So, well, that's my 2 cents worth. That does it for the review. I hope that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view that I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you'd like to see more reviews or just help the channel out further. Or both, that's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.